Hey guys, it's me, Marco, the American Lemko. Today we're in the middle of Lemkovina in the village of Czarne. In this village, there are two things that are pretty interesting to see, and they're a little bit off the beaten path. Let's check them out. So the first thing we're going to be checking out today in the village of Czarne is the memorial to the victims of Talerhof. Now, what exactly was Talerhof? Talerhof was a concentration camp that Lemkos were placed into during World War I by the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So here is the entrance to the memorial.
Along this path, there are informational posters. The first poster has information about Maksim Sandovich. He was born in Gdynia, which is just on the other side of the mountain from here. He was originally a Greek Catholic priest, but converted to Orthodoxy and entered the novitiate at the Porcei Vlavra. He returned to Lemkovina, where he was a priest in Hrab, and during the time when the Russian Empire was an enemy of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, he was accused of being an agent for the Russian Empire. For that, he was arrested and eventually executed. On the bottom is a picture of his father, his family, and his son. And here's a picture of the ceremony during which Maksim Sandovich was canonized as Saint Maxim of Gorlice in 1994. So here it talks about the trial case in Lviv. Proces v Lvovie means trial case in Lviv. At that time, Lviv was in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, just like Lemkovina. Here you can see Maksim Sandovich, and over here as well. Niech żyje święte prawosławie in English means long live holy orthodoxy, and those were among Maksim Sandovich's final words when he was executed. What is written on this poster is a testimony of a witness who saw how Maksim Sandovich was executed. The witness was Semyon Pizh, who was also imprisoned in Gorlice at that time. Due to hostilities with the Russian Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire persecuted, arrested, and even executed people they suspected of sympathizing with the Russian Empire. Among those people were members of the Lemko intelligentsia. This included people like priests, teachers, and officials. Soon it had been decided to send such enemies of the state to an area in Talerhof, Austria. When people were first brought to the camp in Talerhof, there were no barracks, so the prisoners had to sleep outside on the ground until they could be built. After a couple of years, the camp closed in 1917 under the order of Emperor Karl I and was later demolished. The current Graz airport is located at the same location of where the camp was. Here is a list of some of the Lemkos who were imprisoned in Talerhof and from which village they were from. This is not a list of everyone, but rather a list of those from the Gorlice Powiat. Teofil Kurylo was a lawyer and was only 23 years old when he was sent to Talerhof. While he was there, he secretly documented his experience on scraps of paper, and we can read text from his work on this poster over here. In front of us is a clearing in which there are a couple of more posters around an obelisk. On the obelisk, we can see an Orthodox cross. And although it's a bit difficult to read this due to the sunlight coming from the other side of the obelisk, it reads here 1914 to 1934. 1914 refers to the first year of Talerhof, and 1934 is the year this obelisk was erected. Further, it reads, Pamiate mučenika otca Maksima Sandoviča I Talerhovcev I всіх погибших за віру I ruski narod, which means, in memory of the martyr Father Maxim Sandovich, victims of Talerhof, and all who were innocently executed for their faith and the Russian nation. And below it reads, Pravoslavие Ruskие люди Lemkoshchina, which means Orthodox Russian people of Lemkovina. Here's a picture that shows the words more clearly. A list of the deceased was kept in a parish in nearby Feldskirchen. This list shows that the oldest person who died at the camp was 90 years old, and that the youngest person to die at the camp was only 3 days old. In total, about 1,757 people died at the camp. After World War I, the Central Talerhof Committee was formed and collected documents and testimonies from people who were in Talerhof. With this, they produced the Talerhof Almanac, which is the main source of information of the camp today. Memorials were built in other Lemko villages, such as Bartne, Pielgrzyma, and Zindranova, as well as in Lviv and in America. In 1934, the first ceremony in Lemkovina commemorating Maxim Sandovich and the victims of Talerhof took place here in Czarne with about 8,000 people present. And on this last poster, it looks like there's a continuation of Teofil Kurylo's memoir from Talerhof.
Now, I find this place pretty interesting just because growing up, I never really heard of Talerhof. I mean, yes, we've heard of Akcja Wisla because all four of my grandparents, they were victims of Akcja Wisla, but we never really heard about Talerhof. But the thing is, like, the more I found out about it, like, the more I got interested about the history behind it. And that's the thing is, like, the more you dive deep into, like, learning about your roots or about history, like, the more things you're going to uncover. And I think that's really important to know. So let's go check out the next thing that I find pretty interesting here in the village of Czarne. So the other thing that I find interesting here in Czarne is this over here. Now, here is a symbolic door that, helps, represent one of the houses that were here in Czarne. Here you see Czarne in Polish, Czorne in Lemko.
The village was founded in 1569, and the story is that the name Czorne, which means black, comes from the dark color of the water in the stream. The first church in the village was the Greek Catholic Church of St. Demetrius, built around 1754. In 1918, Czorne was one of the main political centers in western Lemkovina. Up to World War II, Czarne had just over 300 inhabitants, a bilingual primary school, as well as a reading room. After World War II, the people from Czorne left voluntarily to Soviet Ukraine to places like Kalush and Kharkiv, and the rest were expelled via Akcja Wisla. In 1993, the church was dismantled and moved to the Sondensky Ethnographic Park in Novi Sącz.
A photo of the church, the village celebrating Easter. A villager from Czarne. And one thing that's really cool, in my opinion, is this map over here. So you have the main road and you have basically a list of where each family lived. So I find this very interesting, as well as very important, because although the villagers or the descendants of the villagers in Czarne are no longer really here. There's no church anymore. The houses are pretty much all gone. The spirit of the Lemkos still survives, even to this day. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And now, as always, it's me, Marco, the American Lemko. I'm signing off, and I'll see you guys next time.